From classics to children's books, you never know what she's gonna cook when Gretchen makes NovelNoms.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to NovelNoms. So this week I wanted to start by showing you something that I'm super proud of. I told you that we bought a house last year and we've been redecorating things, and this is a project that I did. I painted it myself and conceived it myself. I didn't make up the quote. It's my beloved Julia Child. But it's something that I believe in, and it's kind of where my friends gather and my family gathers for meals. And it says, dining with one's friends and beloved family is certainly one of life's primal and most innocent delights, one that is both soul satisfying and eternal. Make it should be something in some place that is just, it's happiness for you. And so that's what my kitchen is for me, and that's what this food I'm gonna make today is for you. We're gonna make some soul satisfying sweet potato soup with cashew cream. Sounds weird, but it's gonna be amazing. And some roasted chickpeas on top. I'm gonna make this amazing soup. It's the beginning, we're getting into fall and autumn. It's still really hot here. It's like over 100 degrees every single day still. We don't really get cool until October, but we are starting to come into that weather. We can just start to feel the nip in the air. But hopefully where you are, it actually feels like fall. But I think soup is one of the best things. Even in the summertime, I like soup. And this is one of those soups that just, it just tastes so good, and it warms your gullet. So it's very simple. I love to make soup. It's one of the easiest things you can do with almost anything in your refrigerator. Within reason, if you give me some list of ingredients in the comments of like things you have in your refrigerator and in your cabinet, I could probably tell you what you can make out of it. Well, it's not anything too crazy. So any soup, in my opinion, starts with the basics, which is going to be your aromatics or the stuff that's going to start the base of the soup, which is almost always going to be onion, garlic, some kind of fat. In this case, we're going to use olive oil, and then we're going to use some other things to mix into it. But you can make, with just this basic mixture of a starter for your soups, you can make all kinds of stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is just dice this onion. You've seen me do it a million times. It's very exciting. The soup that we're going to make is going to have what's called cashew cream in it, which I'm going to show you how to make. And it sounds weird, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, I can't eat that. I've never heard of it. But it's delicious, and it makes the soup vegan. I am not vegan, but it's a nice bonus because it's going to make the soup creamy and almost like a chowder consistency without adding cream or a bunch of fat to it. So it's delicious. Tons of protein because you're using beautiful roasted cashews, and it's delicious. You can use it for a variety of things, and I'll show you how to make that in just a minute. So I'm just starting off my onions, and I'm gonna get my garlic ready. I'm just probably gonna do like just 3 cloves of garlic. All right, so I'm gonna prep the rest of the stuff for my soup, which is, again, it's just simple ingredients. And I'm chopping up some baby carrots. I have these in my refrigerator all the time. We eat them for different things, but my dogs love them as long as you don't give them too much excess. They're great treats, and they're not gonna, make them huge. And unhealthy. Happy dogs. They love them. Watch. Just scooch those over on my cutting board. I have a sweet potato. You could use a yam. This might be a yam. Are you a yam? They're pretty much the same flavor profile. This is how I peel them because it's easy, and I hate using a peeler. I have sliced off more chunks of my fingers than I choose to remember. So I'm just going along the edge of the potato to get that skin off. You can keep the skin on actually, because again, you're going to blend it up so you won't even see it, and it'll add a little bit of extra fiber to your soup. And again, this is all going to get blended up, so these cuts do not have to be perfect. I'm just going to make them into like 1-inch chunks. All right, so everything for our soup is prepped. I'm going to set that to the side because we need to get started on the chickpeas. Now, when I was looking up some recipes, because I really wanted to do something with the sweet potatoes this week. I found a recipe for a sweet potato soup, but it used like chicken broth and a bunch of other stuff, and it also used bacon, which, you know, bacon is delicious. We know that, right? Right. Those of you that don't eat bacon, or if you want something that's a little bit healthier option, I thought of this. I've been seeing this recipe a lot and never tried it, so I'm excited to do this for you. I'm excited to avail myself of this challenge on film. To make roasted chickpeas. It's exactly what it sounds like. Now, this is something that I prepped ahead of time, and all I did was open up a can of chickpeas, rinse them off, dry them, pat them dry with a paper towel, and then put them on a cookie sheet, paper towel, lay them out so they don't touch each other, blot them, kind of get the wetness off them, and then just let them sit for 2 hours. And then, now that they're pretty much dry, the oven is going to do the rest of the drying. They're going to make them crispy and delicious. And they're going to taste not just like bacon, but like delicious roasted chickpeas, which would be a nice crunch and really neat little added thing to the top of our soup. So I'm going to get those started because they need to start drying in the oven. And all I'm going to do is take this olive oil and drizzle it over the top of my chickpeas. I'm not going to do too much. You don't need a ton. And I'm just going to get it so they're nice and have a nice little glisten to them. I'm going to move them close together so I don't like have a lot of waste. Sprinkle them with salt. You could use a kosher salt. You could use a Himalayan pink salt. I'm also going to put some pepper on them. I'm going to do this is very simple. But because the soup we're going to make is going to be super flavorful and have a lot of spices in it, so I don't want it to compete. So you could, if you were going to do a basic soup and not going to do some of the fun things I'm going to put in it, you could put curry on this, you could put garam masala, you could do a ginger, you could really do a lot of different plays on the soup and do a lot of different plays on the chickpeas themselves. So I just kind of tossed them around with my fingers to get them coated in the salt, pepper, and the olive oil. Very simple, very simple. Now I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm eating a chickpea. So these are gonna go in the oven, 400 degrees, and I'm gonna put them in there for 15 minutes. And then I'm gonna turn it down to 350 because you're gonna get that initial shock of heat, which is gonna start them drying right away, and cooking them and roasting them, making them amazing. And then when you turn it down to the lower temperature, it's gonna start to really dry them out and make them crispy. So 400 for 15 minutes and then down to 350. So I put them in there, 400, 15 minutes, then I'm gonna turn down to 350 and we'll go from there. All right, let's get started with our soup. Okay, so for my soup base for the broth, normally I can buy like a vegetarian veggie broth. You could use chicken broth. I would probably use that over a beef broth or anything like that. But I also buy these cubes, and they are vegan, gluten-free, organic, but it's called now. I'm gonna use just 1 cube because I want 2 cups of, I'm gonna do 2 cups of water and 1 cube. So we're gonna get this soup started in just a second. But I wanted to tell you first about some books I'm reading and also to ask you a question. So there's 2 books that I'm in love with right now that I'm kind of reading sporadically. I need to just sit down and devour. One of them is called She Weeps Each Time You're Born, and it's by Quan Berry. I heard this woman on NPR. It sounds like poetry. It's so gorgeous. It's about this little girl who's born under like a strange moon, and she can like hear the thoughts of the dead. It's a gorgeous book. It's heartbreaking and just amazing. And then the other book is called Pretty Good Number 1. I think it's like a family in Tokyo or something is the subheading. It's by Matthew Amster Burton, and it's about this family that decided they wanted to spend a year in Tokyo just for the experience. And it's so cool to watch the father and the daughter are kind of the ones going on the little adventures the most because the mother's working. And it's just so sweet, and the stories are great, and I'm really into nonfiction lately. It's so good. But I also want to ask you, not only what are you reading, but I'm wondering what you think about the new format where I'm like, I'm just going to mention what I'm reading. Or would you rather I kind of go back to what I was doing before where I pick a book, talk about that book, and correlate it to the recipe? You let me know. This is the democracy here at NovelNoms. Okay, so I'm going to get some olive oil started in the bottom of the pan here just to heat it up so I can cook up my onions and my garlic. And this is one of those soups that, you know, it's not like it's a crock pot thing or it has to go in the Dutch oven for hours. It's a pretty simple soup you could do when you come home from work. You could make it ahead of time so you have it for throughout the week, which is what I typically do for my lunches. Do that. But it's a great spur of the moment kind of thing too. And like the ingredients aren't so wackadoodle that you'll be like, I don't have that. Onions. I've got all that chopped garlic into my pan. I'm just gonna brown these up. I wanna get some nice caramelization. It'll add a richer flavor to the soup. All right, so while we're waiting, I'm gonna make the cashew cream. And all of it is cashews and water. I literally put about half a cup of cashews into a bowl, covered them with water, and let them soak for 2 hours. You could actually just throw them in there and blend them up into your soup, but I think this is better. It makes it creamier. You don't get the gritty texture. And all I'm gonna do is put it into my little blender cup here. I'm gonna add just probably about a half a cup more water. Screw on the top. That's it. And we're just gonna blend it up. It's cashew milk. Now, if you don't want to make that, you don't want to use this, you can use cream. You could use coconut milk, would be delicious. We're gonna use cashew milk because it's got a lot of protein and it's delicious. All right, so my onions are good. I'm gonna dump in a cup of water. See, we're getting all that stuff up off the bottom. See how the color of the water is changed just because of the caramelization of the onions. And with that, I'm gonna add in my bouillon. Again, if you have your own stock, if you have a carton stock or canned stock, use that. So this is what I like. I'm gonna add to that my cashew cream. It smells like cashews, but it's going to be, look how creamy and wonderful that is. It's thick. It's gonna add some nice substance to your chowder, your soup. Okay. And then I'm just gonna put in those chunky sweet potatoes and our carrots. Okay, perfect. So I've got all that in there. I want to bring it up to a little bit of a boil. Put into our soup about a nice little healthy handful, probably about a tablespoon of curry powder. I always end up adding more because I love the taste of it, but it's always good to add a little bit and then kind of work your way up to it. Put that in, it's gonna give it this gorgeous color. It's gonna smell amazing and it's gonna start to infuse that into the veggies that we have in there. I'm also gonna put in a couple teaspoons of salt. Same thing for pepper. And that's it, because we've got the garlic, we've got the onions in there. You've got the curry powder. I can even taste it now because there's no meat in there. Oh, it's really good. If you don't want to use curry, you could just make this with the garlic and the onions, salt and pepper, and it'll still be gorgeous and delicious. But it is just so amazing with the curry powder. All right, we're just gonna cover this, and then we're gonna wait for our chickpeas to have to go down one more time, so 10 minutes at 350. And then one more 10 minutes for 350, and then we'll be able to blend up the soup and to eat it. Soup and our veggies that are cooking in all of that delicious broth have been I think they're done cooking. You'll see that the main thing you want to look for is that they're mushy. So if you notice, I can actually cut it with a spoon or fork, knife, whatever. That's what we're looking for. And then you get one of these handy dandy things. It's called an immersion blender, and we're gonna blend this up. Now, if you don't have one of these, some people have never even heard of one of these. That's okay. You can just put this in a blender, and that will be fine. I like this because there's a trick to this. So you notice those little holes, right? We want those holes to be below the water. Otherwise, it's gonna be spitting up everywhere. And I'm gonna let it blend. I'm just gonna move it around, and don't ever bring it up above the water. So that's pretty well blended up. If there's some chunks in there, that's okay. You could even strain it out if you wanted to. Our chickpeas are ready to come out of the oven. You notice that they're smaller, but you can also hear them. They're crispy now. We got our soup, we got our chickpeas, and we're gonna put them all together. This is a bowl, so this is my favorite bowl. I feel like everybody has to have their favorite thing that they eat out of. Remember the Julia Child quote about soul satisfying? I feel like your dinnerware should be soul satisfying too. It's got all of them. All right, so I'm gonna put some of that soup in here. And this is, the color on this is gorgeous. This is autumn in a bowl. Beautiful soup. And then you've got these chickpeas that are crispy like nuts. So now we can take some of those and you get that same crispy, like caramely flavored, that caramelization of the chickpeas that you get from the bacon. I know it's not bacon. And I'm just gonna sprinkle those on top of my soup. It's gonna, a little bit of garnish is gonna make it look beautiful, but it's gonna make it taste amazing, give it a nice little texture, kind of like a cracker or a nut or something like that would, or a crouton that you would put on top of soup or salad. You wish you had smell-o-vision right now. You could smell the roasted chickpeas. You can smell the curry. See how thick that is? Oh, I needed to be alone. It's got that great texture from the cashew cream, or just like cashews and water. That's all that was, and it gives it this thick, like beautiful velvety texture, and then the crunch of the chickpeas. Hopefully, you will try my sweet potato curry, cashew, chickpea conglomeration here. Do something soul satisfying in your kitchen this week. Make something amazing for yourself, for your family, and for Julia Child. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for your love on last week's episode. I didn't put it, I was going to put something on there, but we literally filmed that with 3 different cameras because each one, it was a spur of the moment idea, and I didn't realize that none of our cameras were charged. So my husband ended up filming the majority of it with his phone. But I love doing this with you guys. I love you all. And I'll see you next week on NovelNoms.
From classics to children's books, you never know what she's gonna cook when Gretchen makes NovelNoms.